Hello, my TikTok family. I just wanted to give you another story. I'm Black Bright News and I talk about anything in the news that I find. And today I wanted to talk about the HMRC employee who had disabilities and was fined £20,000 for not returning to work after COVID. So let me dive in to keep me concise and on the straight and narrow. So there's a case in the news right now that has caught a lot of attention. The HMRC employee who said that anxiety and depression made it impossible for him to return to the office, impossible to work from home, impossible even to answer the phone. And after a long tribunal, he was ordered to pay nearly £20,000. It's a striking moment, not because people don't struggle with mental health, but because it touched something deeper about how COVID changed us. How it shook our routines, blurred our boundaries, and left some people unable to step back into the world they once occupied with ease. He was, for many years, a regular employee. He did his job. He knew the systems, the people, the rhythm of the work. Nothing dramatic. Nothing concerning, and then COVID came along. The office emptied, chairs were pushed under desks and left untouched for months. The hum of conversation vanished. The lift stopped carrying people up and down, everyone scattered to their living rooms and bedrooms, armed with laptops and headsets, trying to pretend normality still existed. In those early months, many people felt relief. No commute, no crowds, no office politics, just the quiet stability of home. But for others, that quiet became something dangerous, a place where fear grew roots. They became used to silence, used to distance, used to being unseen. And when the world began opening up again, the workplaces gently nudged people back to work. It wasn't simply a matter of walking through a door. For some, it felt like returning to life, no longer recognised, or a version of themselves they no longer felt able to. The HMRC employee said that returning to the office filled him with dread, and you can imagine how that could happen. After 2 years of isolation, the noise of an office can feel overwhelming. The energy, the unpredictability, the sensory overload, it can hit like a physical wave. He said that answering the phone triggered anxiety. He said he couldn't cope with calls from colleagues or clients. The very idea, he claimed, tipped him into panic. The truth is, lockdown reshaped people in ways we still don't fully acknowledge. We know it takes around 66 days to form a new habit, yet we spent nearly 700 days living in fear, isolation and distance. People grew used to silence, to avoidance, to shrinking their world to a size of a living room. Phones felt threatening, social contact felt overwhelming, and daily routines quietly rewired themselves. So when someone says they can't answer a phone or return to an office after COVID, that fear is understandable. It's just that in this particular case, the medical evidence didn't support the severity he claimed. Many people emerged from lockdown with heightened anxiety. Phones ringing suddenly felt intrusive. Some couldn't tolerate video calls. Others found themselves freezing at the smallest task. Mental health spiraled in ways that still aren't completely understood. COVID didn't just tear people apart, it reformatted them. But here's where the story takes a turn. Employers aren't mind readers, and they aren't magicians. When someone says they can't do the basics of a job, employers need evidence, support plans, adjustments, conversations, collaboration. And HMRC did all of that. They sent him to occupational health. They asked for medical opinions. They offered adjustments. They explored alternatives. They tried home working. They tried stepping stones back into duties. They gave him opportunities to show what he could do. But every suggestion was met with the same wall. Impossible. Not difficult. Not tiring. Not I will try. Always impossible. He said he couldn't return to the office because of anxiety. They said, all right, could you work from home? Impossible. He said phones triggered his symptoms. They said, could we remove the phones? Could we adjust duties? Impossible. They offered support plans. Impossible. They asked for clarification. Impossible. They gave him time, more understanding. Still impossible. Week after week, month after month. And beneath the surface, something else was happening. His colleagues were picking up the pieces, quietly absorbing calls, covering workload, adjusting schedules, postponing their own work to cover the gaps. Because when someone refuses all duties, the work doesn't disappear. It rolls downhill onto the nearest shoulders. But the tribunal didn't simply look at the disruption. It looked at the evidence, and the medical reports did not say he couldn't answer the phone. They did not say he couldn't work. They did not say he was incapacitated. They acknowledged anxiety. Many people struggle with anxiety after COVID, but they did not support the level of total inability he claimed. And that's where the story becomes uncomfortable, because it forces us to confront something people don't like to admit out loud. Not every claim of incapacity is genuine. Some people truly cannot function, others are frightened but trying. But occasionally, very occasionally, someone discovers that claiming a complete inability gets them out of tasks that they don't want to do, and they lean on that. The tribunal said that's what happened here. They call this behaviour dishonest, exaggerated, and abuse of the system. They said he had misled his employer, refused adjustments without justification, and used the language of disability not as a shield of protection, but as a shield of avoidance. And because tribunals have the power to penalise misconduct, he was ordered to pay around £20,000, a rare move reserved for cases where someone has wasted the court's time or acted in bad faith. Now, why does this story matter? Because it sits at the crossroads of two realities. First, mental health is real and COVID intensified it. Many people right now are terrified of returning to busy environments. Many feel trapped by their own anxious thoughts. They need time, gradual reintegration, and genuine support. Their struggles are valid and their voices matter. But second, the workplace runs on trust. When someone falsely claims total incapacity, they don't just harm their employer, they undermine the credibility of every person who truly needs adjustments. They make managers suspicious. They make HR nervous. They make genuine claimants feel scrutinised, doubted, and judged. Because the next employee who says, I'm struggling with anxiety, I need adjustment, might face scepticism that wasn't there before, not because they're lying, but because someone else once did. And the saddest part is that COVID created a perfect storm for this tension. Everyone was shaken, everyone was altered, but not everyone was altered in the same direction. Some people worked harder than ever, some never stopped, others felt themselves slowly unravelling. The line between I can't and I don't want to, sometimes blurred, even for the person themselves. But a tribunal has to draw the line somewhere. And in this case, the line was drawn at the point where the medical evidence said one thing and the employee insisted on something far stronger. The line was drawn where fear became inconvenient, where anxiety became a wall, where impossible became a habit. So when people read the headline, HMRC employee ordered to pay $20,000 after refusing all duties, it's easy to think the system is harsh. But when you look deeper, the ruling wasn't about punishing mental health, it was about protecting the integrity of disability rights, ensuring they remain a shield for those who genuinely need them, not a loophole for those who don't. And in the end, maybe there's a real story here. COVID changed us, but it did not remove our responsibility to be honest. Anxiety reshaped our lives, but it did not take away the need for balance and accountability. And disability protections matter too, much, far too much, to be used carelessly. So, I hope that answered any questions you had about that story.